Hi Pisces, Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your 2021 general overview. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you who are just looking for the general or the love readings for January, those are already posted. You could check them out in the playlist section of the channel. As far as what we have here, I actually pulled cards for each of the houses of the zodiac based on your sign. And then we'll actually start this off by rolling some astrology dice to see where your focus should be as far as that goes, and then we'll actually pull an oracle card once we get to the main tarot spread for some additional insight. And this is just something a little bit different I wanted to do for the new year, so hopefully you guys like it. Alright, so we'll get started with the dice. Okay, so we have Mercury energy, so communication could be important for you guys this year. We're going to have Mercury retrogrades in the air signs this year, so keep a lookout for that. Those are your water houses. We have Gemini energy, so again we see a communication theme, given that Gemini is the natural ruler of the third house communication. But for you guys, Gemini energy is your fourth house too, so this can be around home, family, possibly moving, things along those lines, short distance travel. And we have 2, so second house. So you might have a heavy focus on your finances this year. We did have Mars moving through there. It's going to be there for a couple more days before it moves on into Taurus, but could have already been a heavy focus of yours, but that's what I see there. And we'll keep those in mind as we go through the reading. So getting started with the main spread. For the first house, we have the 2 of Wands, so speaking of Aries energy. We have the 8 of Cups, which is actually Pisces energy, and we have the Lovers, which is Gemini energy. So already see the Gemini energy playing out, and the Aries, which for you guys is your second house. So this could just be saying that you guys might be considering a new start, a fresh start in something this year. For some of you, could be leaving the old behind, for example, since we see that that's what the 8 of Cups usually represents, and this is actually Pisces energy here. So you guys just might feel like you've outgrown the situation, possibly even a place, maybe even moving. And if that's the case, given that for you guys, Gemini represents your fourth house, it looks like where you would move would be actually, would bring a lot of happiness to you, I'm feeling. For some of you, this can also be around relationships as well. Maybe you're going to be leaving a relationship behind that might have been past its expiration date. Maybe you got to a certain point with the connection, but felt like there wasn't any more room for growth. And if that's the case, that could lead you to a new connection as well. But either way, pretty positive energy to have in your first house. All right. In the second house, we have the Ace of Cups. So, well, it's the Ace of Chalices in this deck, but same thing. So Ace of Cups energy showing up here could just be saying that when it comes to finances, possessions, self-worth, to tap into your intuition, tap into your creativity, and that could be the key to helping you guys out as far as finances go. So, for example, maybe some of you might connect with something that you have been doing since you were kids, or just connecting with a playful energy in general when it comes to your money, and that'll actually help bring more abundance to you. There could be an opportunity to work in a field, for example, that maybe you've always wanted to work to, that you're passionate about. So that could be what that's pointing to there. Third house energy, we got the Knight of Swords in reverse, which is Gemini energy. Knight of Chalices in reverse, which is Pisces energy. And the Ace of Wands in reverse. So I'll put these in the upright while we talk about them. For me, generally speaking, a lot of times I'll see the Knight of Swords come up in reverse when we're going to have Mercury retrograde, which we will basically at the very end of January, in Aquarius, which is your 12th house. So speaking of 12th house energy there. So this could just be saying that the retrogrades of Mercury might hit you a little bit harder than usual this year. That could certainly be the case, given that they are going to be in your water houses. That could be, maybe emotionally what you're trying to convey doesn't come out the way you'd hoped it would, and then you could get some stagnation there, like you might feel misunderstood. And that could definitely be the case, given that we do see Mercury popping up as one of the primary themes for you guys for this year too. So, I would say definitely just something to keep in mind. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, but Could just be saying, especially around the Mercury retrogrades, try to be mindful about what you say. Try not to rush into saying anything because it could totally be taken the wrong way. But yeah, overall, I feel like this is definitely saying that at least to a certain extent, you might feel like there's some miscommunication and a lack of an ability to move forward. So, something to keep in mind. All right, in the fourth house, we have Fortune. So, this is the Wheel of Fortune, and it's basically we have Jupiter, which is what this card represents, in your 12th house for some of the year, but it's actually going to move into your sign for part of the year as well. So there could definitely be some significance there. But while it's in your 12th house, it might actually help you heal some subconscious things that you might have had from your early upbringing that might have been getting in your way. Possibly even, some issues with your family could be repaired as well. So that's a pretty positive energy to see there. And for those of you, like I said, I was picking up on the energy that some of you might be moving this year. If that's the case, again, this to me looks like another indicator that that actually would bring you more abundance in your life. So pretty positive there as well. All right. In the fifth house, we have the Hermit. So this is actually Virgo energy, which is your opposite sign. So on the one hand, this could just be saying that you guys might be withdrawing a bit when it comes to romance, but at the other end of the spectrum, it could just be saying that you're actually, looking for something more serious and more long term when you're getting into dating now. So maybe in the past you might have been fine with a bit more of casual dating, but now you're looking for something that could lead to more of a long term connection. And if this is around creativity, I feel like this is saying that you guys are really just, trying to perfect something, So if you have some creative projects in mind that you're working on, you could really just be going over them over and over to make sure that they're just right before you do release them. That's what I see there. And if that's the case, just keep in mind not to forget what we saw in the second house with the Ace of Chalices, which is to say, staying in that light and playful energy could bring more abundance your way when it comes to finances. All right. And in the sixth house, we have Queen of Swords, which is Libra energy, Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, Ace of Swords, and Five of Wands, which is Leo energy. So especially given for you guys, because Leo energy is your sixth house, this could definitely be pointing to where some of that miscommunication might be primarily taking place, which could be in the workplace for some of you. So just keep that in mind, when you are in the workplace. You might be trying to, keep things balanced, right? But at the same time, so if there's something that you feel like, oh, okay, this isn't necessarily the way I want it done, but you know what, I'll give them their space to do their thing, right? Rather than speaking up. That could just lead to more conflict down the line. So it could just be saying that you're being encouraged here to actually speak up and make sure that your voice is heard when it comes to your work lives, because if you just kind of sweep it under the rug, right, instead of speaking up, then it's going to just devolve into conflict within the workplace anyway. Now, this isn't just about work, the sixth house. It could also point to daily routines and health. So regarding that, yeah, I would say you're probably going to be pretty active this year, but just be mindful and try not to overdo it. And for some of you, for example, if you just feel like you're stuck in your head and you're like, oh, right, rather than addressing the issue, you might just go to work out to blow off some steam or something along those lines, right? Could just be saying to be mindful of that and try not to overdo it in that regard. All right. Seventh house energy, we have the Nine of Cups. So this is actually Pisces energy here, and it's a very positive, supportive energy in general. So it's always a good card to see in the spread. But for it coming up here, could just be saying that you might have a lot of luck and contentment when it comes to your romantic relationships. And with the children that we see in the artwork here too, it could again be an indicator to say to try to stay in that light, playful energy. So we did see that showing up for you guys as far as finances go, but looks like that could also pay off for you guys in terms of relationships too. And this is a good thing to see as well, as far as we saw the Eight of Cups in your first house energy leading to the Lovers, so you could kind of see the progression in your seventh house too, right? Going from the Eight of Cups to the Nine of Cups. So definitely looks like there's going to be some positive growth for you guys when it comes to your relationships. Now, this doesn't always have to mean romantic relationships either. It could also point to partnerships and contracts. So pretty positive card to have there as well. All right. In the eighth house, we have the Three of Pentacles, which is Capricorn energy, and the Eight of Wands, which is Sagittarius energy. So, eighth house could point to intimacy on the one hand. So, if we look at it that way, it could just be saying that possibly someone that you've been friends with, given that for you guys, Capricorn represents your 11th house, that actually could escalate into something that's a bit more sexual. And possibly lead to something more long-term too, since Sagittarius energy is your 10th house. For others of you, if this is around investing too, this is also a pretty good energy to see as far as investments go, because it looks like if you do put in the work toward that, you could actually see it pay off for you guys this year. See if anything else comes to mind with these energies. That's more or less it, but I will say keep an eye out for the new moon that we're going to have in Capricorn in a couple weeks. Maybe even less than that now. Yeah, a little under 2 weeks. There could be some significance around that time as far as investments go, or at least opportunities for investments or intimacy, like I said. All right, in the ninth house, we have the Queen of Wands, which is Aries energy, and the Seven of Wands. So this could just be saying that you guys might really have to defend yourselves regarding your beliefs, your philosophy, whatever the case may be. Looks like it might be called into question this year, but it looks like you would successfully be able to defend yourselves. But it looks like that's what you're doing there. With the Queen of Wands energy, to me, that represents you standing up for yourselves, right? This is Aries energy, which is your second house, which means, combine Aries and Taurus energy, that could definitely be a bit stubborn, right? Set in your ways. Like, no, this is what I believe. I'm not going to let you sway my decision on that, right? And I'm going to defend myself. Given that it is the Seven of Wands, I feel for the majority of you, you are in the right to do so, right? Because sometimes you do need to be a bit flexible, but looks like you are going to be actually taking the right approach by doing that. All right. In the 10th house, we have the Nine of Wands. So this is more Sagittarius energy here, which is your 10th house of career, so it makes sense it will pop up there. But this could say you're feeling a bit guarded. Maybe you just feel like you're a bit stuck, right? Like things are getting a bit repetitive for you when it comes to work, right? Like the work never stops also, so you could feel a bit overwhelmed. So if that's the case, that calls me back to what I was saying with the 6th house, where you might feel like, all right, you know what, I'm not going to speak up about what's going on, right? And then it ends up devolving into conflict anyway. So if you feel like others in your environment, as far as the workplace goes, aren't picking up the slack, right, and you're doing more than your fair share, it looks like this is another indicator that you might be best to address it. But overall, this also, generally speaking, in certain decks especially, points to strength and the ability to withstand any challenges. So in that regard, that's a pretty positive thing to see there. All right, in the 11th house, we have the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy. So, given that this is Libra energy, I would say, as far as investments go, you might not want to invest with friends because that could lead to some disappointment there. So, try to keep money separated from your friendships. But also, this could just point to you guys possibly having some disappointments around your friendships. This could even say that it might happen while we have the Mercury retrograde during Libra season. That could be when you might find something out that disappoints you regarding friendships or a group that you're associated with. So yeah, I mean, not the best energy to see pop up in this house, right? But it could also be, keep in mind, it could just be due to misunderstandings given what we see in your third house communication. So, even if something seems like a disappointment, just really try to give it a little time, especially if it happens around those retrogrades. Try to give it a little time and see if, with a little bit more time passing, if things can actually improve in that regard. And, you never know. Timelines could be a little tricky with these types of readings because for some of you, for example, It might be a group you associate with that you no longer vibe with, and that could be what might cause the spark for you guys to want to move, right? Then you move to a new place and you have much more supportive connections. That's a way it could play out. But yeah, like I was saying, generally speaking, if you feel the energy pop up, especially around the retrogrades, try to, take a little time to process it before reacting. All right, and in the 12th house, we have the Tower and the Queen of Pentacles. So, this is an interesting combination of energies to see here, because the first thing that comes to mind seeing this is the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, you guys have Jupiter and Saturn in your 12th house of Aquarius. So, really what I see with this is just being grounded. So if the Tower is by itself, it'd be one thing. I'd be a little more concerned. But given that we see the Queen of Pentacles right beneath that, to me that shows that whatever this is, I feel like this is probably just more of Saturn doing its work in your 12th house, where it's shattering any illusions that you guys might have, around how situations are. But the good thing is, if those illusions are shattered, I don't think you're going to be devastated by it at all. I think it's actually going to help to ground you and help you achieve some success. So, could have been worse. Like, for example, if it was the other way around, where this was first and then the Tower, then I'd be like, all right, well, it could be something a little shaky going on for you guys. But overall, that's how I see it. But keep in mind, Saturn in the 12th house, generally speaking, beyond just this reading, it's going to be there for a couple of years. It can be a pretty heavy energy. So if you're feeling that, just try to stay grounded, and that could actually help you in that regard too. All right. So overall, pretty positive spread. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the last two cards seem a little rough, right? But like I said, I feel like that's primarily what's going on there. And even if we look at this as related to the 11th house energy, if there are some friendships or a group that you've been associating with that you shouldn't be, right, that Tower moment could actually help you see them more clearly and then help you be grounded and move forward. So this is definitely a pretty good card to see in that regard. Okay, and lastly, we'll pull an Oracle card for you guys. So this is from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, and I did pre-shuffle the deck. What we're going to be looking for here is just a single card. And if I shuffle for a while without anything coming up, I'll just actually put the deck down and we'll pull a random card. But I do like to at least get one card for the reading before I wrap up. Alright, yeah, nothing's coming up. So I'll put the deck down and then give me a few seconds. I'll tune in. We'll just pull a card. Okay. We got Time to Go. There's the artwork, and the number is 45. So, seeing this immediately makes me think of what we were saying as far as possibly somebody might be considering moving to a new location. And like we saw like I mentioned with the friendships or groups, if you feel like you don't resonate with them anymore, that could be pointing to that as well, but we'll see. Let's see what it says in the book. Okay, it says endings, completion, walking away from something because there is nothing else to learn or experience. The Oracle's message: you are at the end of one journey and have not yet begun the next. This is the moment to bless your experience thus far. Take stock of what you've learned. It's time to move on to new experiences and a new way of being. There is nothing left for you to do, be, or experience in your present circumstances. Take the risk and move on, even if you need to be in transition for a time. Your destiny is calling you. So definitely an interesting message there. The whole thing about your destiny is calling you and leaving things behind definitely makes me think of that Two of Wands energy, along with the Eight of Cups and then the Lovers in the first house. So hopefully that resonated with you. All right, The relationship message says it's over, or at the very least, the form this relationship has taken is no longer of service to you or the other person. This is a time of letting go, of knowing that the journey has come to its conclusion. That doesn't mean anything is lost. Although this card could speak to a breakup, drifting apart, or the end of a soul contract, it is more about release than destruction. Remember the saying, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours. If not, it never was. Endings are always a sign of new beginnings. If you want something deeper, walk away. Another one that calls right back to your first house for me, where it says, if you want something deeper, walk away. That, again, draws my attention to the Eight of Cups energy in your first house, followed by the Lovers, right? And that's what we talked about in the beginning. Can't pick the card up, but you saw it already. As far as saying that, you might walk away and lead yourselves to something more fulfilling. So hope that resonated as well. And the prosperity message says, the message is clear. The path you've been on with your work, creative projects, and business alliances have come to an end. You will not find the success you desire by continuing with what is now in front of you. There is an auspicious sign because there is no choice that will benefit you other than risking stepping into the unknown. It is time to walk toward something new. This card also pertains to the more neutral concept of completion. You've finished your task and can rest assured that this ending will open up a powerful new avenue of opportunity, even better than any you can imagine. You have done all you can. Now trust that Spirit keeps the plan moving forward. Fortune requires you to conclude this chapter of your life. And remember that when you close one door, another opens. So, pretty positive message there as well. Looking back on it to see what really stuck out to me about it, but I lost my place. But yeah, as far as I mentioned, the completions there, like I said, we see the desire for you guys to start something new. Like I said, for some of you, I was picking up on the energy of possibly moving, and that could be what it is for some of you as well, where you might be moving due to a new career opportunity, or again, maybe the work environment that you're currently in might not be supportive, so you might leave that behind. But overall, pretty positive spread, and I actually think I forgot to mention, at the bottom of the deck, we have the Chariot. So another indicator that you guys could be moving. This could point to long distance travel for some. For you, this is also your fifth house, Cancer energy. So could point to romance, creativity there too. But overall, this does point to victory as well. So pretty good energy to see there as well. All right, so we'll wrap up there. Hopefully it resonated, and I'll see you guys in a few weeks with the February readings. All right, bye.